together is a huge market. There are more than 400 million population, which is about 20 times of the market size of Taiwan. So it's a very important market, and also very lots of innovations. Now, on the other hand, in Taiwan, we have devoted many resources over the past 20-some years to develop a biotech industry. And we certainly think that this is a very important area and opportunity to work together with the EU. So today we have 5 speakers, and they would all join us for panel discussion later on. And 4 speakers from EU, from Australia, from Belgium, Denmark, Italy, and 1 from Taiwan. So they all have very interesting topics. Some cover medical device, biomedical applications of IC, integrated circuitry and semiconductors, also telehealth care, implant devices, and also pharmaceutical manufacturing. So let's see if we can learn from their experiences, and also the challenges, how to invest in Europe. And so let's welcome the first speaker, Dr. Floyd Ho, and he is going to talk to us on the vocal paralysis solution, which is biomedical implant devices. Okay, also say hello to the participants online. I hope you can hear well through the online presentations. Let's welcome Dr. Ho.
So dear ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Lee, I'm very honored to get invited to this forum. And today I want to share my experience in the field of medical devices with you. And so let's go to the slide, please. Yeah. So today my topic will be insights from an Austrian Taiwanese medtech, scale up leveraging the advantages of Europe's R&D capacity for future global development. Next slide, please. So my name is Floyd, and I myself, I'm a medical doctor. I'm an ENT doctor. I graduated from the Medical University of Vienna. And so I have also more than 10 years of experiences in medical device industry. And currently, I'm the CEO of Apria Medical. So Apria Medical was founded at the end of 2013 and has subsidiary in Taiwan and Austria. So the subsidiary in Austria, it's called Apria Biotech. It is ISO 13485 certified for design, manufacturing, and distribution of medical devices. And we are focusing on the treatment of voice and speech disorders. So we have innovative ENT devices and also a software technology. Our Austrian subsidiary is located in Feldkirch, the province of Vorarlberg, which is at the most western part of Austria, near the border to Germany and Switzerland. Currently, we have 2 product pipelines. The first one, Apria Vocal Implant System, which is an innovative adjustable long-term implant for treatment of glottic insufficiency. This long-term implant, the manufacturing is based in Austria. And our second product pipeline is AI Speak, which is an AI-based speech conversion platform to improve communication capability for speech disorder patients. So 可以播放那个影片吗？ 下一张。对，右手边。对，那边应该有影片。对，这个影片。So normal people, when we speak or when we swallow, both vocal folds have to be closed. If one side is paralyzed, as on the right video, then there will be a gap between the vocal folds, and people will have hoarse voice, or they get usually choked and have aspiration pneumonia. And our implant will be inserted during a standard procedure designed by our company. And the unique point of this implant is that it can be adjusted during the operation to achieve complete vocal fold closure, or after the operation. So we can prevent a revision surgery. So this kind of patient, they don't have to do a second surgery if there's any change in condition. And with the vocal fold complete closure, we can optimize the result for the patients and also prevent aspiration pneumonia, which is which has always been a very big issue in the treatment of elderly people. For this kind of implant, usually it takes about 7 years for development time. And our company, we are able to develop this kind of implant within 4 years. So what kind of strategy did we pursue? So we designed the implant in Taiwan and then manufactured it in Austria. So Taiwan is ranked 4th in the category of innovation capability. And at that time of development, 2013-14, Taiwan's medical device manufacturing was actually dominated mostly by export and also production of mid to low-end medical products. So the biomedical industry recently is a major priority focus for the Taiwanese government as part of the government's 5+2 Innovative Industries Plan, with the purpose to expand into new and high-value product areas. However, it takes time to establish an advanced technology and also to create a value-added chain, especially for the high-end medical products. So in order to have a faster development and efficient R&D for novel innovative devices, so it requires local and international collaborations. And therefore, local companies also eagerly seek to enter collaborations with overseas companies just to boost the biomedical innovation. So why do I choose Austria for R&D and production? So partially it's because of my background, and actually there are only 3 countries over the world, which can manufacture this kind of implant, and Austria was one of those 3. And except that Austria is also one of the leading nations with regards to its research and development expenditures, also ranked 2nd when it comes to cooperation between universities and industry. And also, Austria's competitiveness and innovative capacity is also above average compared to the EU 28, as we can see here on this slide. Austria is also a strong innovator with increasing performance in terms of international competition, such as developing innovations and successfully launching them on the global market. And parameters such as innovators, linkages, and attractive research systems are also the strong innovation dimensions of Austria. So innovators are firms introducing innovations into the market or within their organizations, or SMEs innovating in-house. And linkages include collaboration efforts between innovating firms, research collaboration between the private and the public sector, and extent to which the private sector finances public R&D activities. And also Austria has an attractive research system, which is measured by international scientific co-publications, scientific publications among the top 10% most cited, and also foreign doctorate students. When it comes to intellectual assets, so Austria is also doing very well regarding the PCT patent applications, trademark applications, and design applications. And this is a summary of the development roadmap of our implant. So we designed the implant in Taiwan, Then we have it prototyped in Austria with our partner, and we proved the concept with an animal study here in Taiwan. And then we did all the bench testings, verification and validation regarding the function and safety with help of our Austrian partner. And they also help us to set up a quality manual system for ISO certification. And during the development, we also work very closely with institutions like Medical University of Vienna and also University Medical Center Hamburg. And we also work very closely with KOLs. And the purpose is that we want to ensure that when the product is ready to launch on the market, that it will be accepted by the market, which means that it will be the method or the device we provide will be accepted by the KOLs. And this is the result of our implant. So this is the General Hospital in Vienna, University Clinic. 麻烦播放，谢谢。有声音吗？ So this is actually to show the. So this is the voice after the implantation. We can see another example. So this is the voice before the operation. So it's hoarse and husky. So this is after the implantation. So their voice returned to normal, and also their life quality also improved a lot. For this product, we have 28 patents granted globally, and end of last year, we have received the CE certification. So what are the reasons to invest in Austria? So Austria is located in the center of Europe and has high level of industrial productivity. And the reason is because of the high worker motivation, which is ranked 5th worldwide. And Austria has low strike rate due to political and social stability, and they have close ties between companies and schools. And there's actually no communication barrier. So Austria ranks number 8 for English proficiency among 100 countries. And branding is actually a very important factor for high-end medical devices. So that will make the entry barrier for global market access lower. And this is our office in Feldkirch in Austria. So we have a nice look to the Alps. And this is our office here in Taipei, in Shilin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you for your sharing. 下一位讲者是来自比利时的 Peter Lemons， 爱美科台湾区总经理。他要分享的主题是未来世代的医疗器材之破坏式科技创新。Our next speaker is Peter Lemons. He is the general manager of IMEC in Taiwan. He would like to share the topic is low barrier access to disruptive technologies for the future generation of healthcare tools. Please let's welcome Mr. Lemons.
Thank you very much for pioneering testing the technical infrastructure. I hope my presentation will go all right. I'm not going to make any further advertisement for you. So maybe we can go back to the IMEC presentation. Thank you. I will take a few extra minutes later. Yes. Almost there. And if you can put it in full screen mode. Please bear with me. Yes, we are there. Great. Yeah, works. Great. So I'm Peter. I have the difficult and maybe not so difficult task to represent Belgium today. Yeah? I think we need to put back in presentation mode. Great, thank you. So, Belgium is a very, very small country. It's even smaller than Taiwan. And with all these big neighbors, how can a small country like Belgium impress anybody? Yeah? So I hope after 10 minutes from now, I hope I have convinced you that actually Belgium is also a very interesting country to do business with and maybe even do investment. So please sit back. So Belgium far away, but really Belgium is at the heart of Europe. Yeah? And I think that's a very important characteristic, not only physically, but Brussels is our capital city, and Brussels is actually the home to the European Commission, yeah? Entire European Commission, but also many international institutes are located in Brussels, yeah? And that's very important, to be close to the policymakers, to be close to the people who can influence, yeah? Especially also for healthcare regulations, reimbursements, etc. These kind of rules are very important. And more, Europe is determining how each country implements this kind of rules, what is protected, what is not protected, etc. So this, I think, is a very important characteristic. Belgium is a very international country. If I look to my company, there are 90 different nationalities working at our campus. 90, yeah? Amazing. And of course, I think, well, Belgium physically located in the heart of Europe, less than 2 hours from Paris by car, less than 2 hours to Amsterdam. But what's even more important is that, in general, it's also recognized that Belgium has one of the best healthcare systems. We are humble, so we think we are one of the best in Europe, but you know, maybe even worldwide, I think we are in the top. Yeah? And I'm Belgium, so I can be humble to say so, but I think this kind of environment also stimulates a lot of innovation in healthcare. Yeah? You can, if you have the chance to visit Belgium, you probably will be able to witness a very vibrant startup community around healthcare innovation. Yeah? Think about this company. And I'm sorry, some part of the slide is dropping away. Can we put back in full screen mode? That's possible.
可以帮我们调为全萤幕模式吗？谢谢。
Okay, we'll try like this. So
if it's full screen, then you cannot scroll down.
yeah, okay, no problem. Sorry. We try to be flexible. So take an example for this startup company, Bloom Technologies, started in Belgium, spread around the world now, also office in USA, and they developed a wearable to measure contractions for pregnant women. Yeah, so high tech. Another one is Zembro. Yeah. I think I'm not going to talk too much about the aging society, but there's many applications for nursing homes, safety, etc. Especially now with COVID. Yeah? Situation is in nursing homes is not so ideal because people just cannot visit their parents or older people. So this stimulates a lot of innovation. Yeah? I think Belgium is also used by a lot of foreign companies, big companies, as a test bed, testing ground, trial market. Yeah? Especially because Belgium is such an international country. If a product sells well in Belgium, the chance is good that it sells in the rest of Europe as well. Yeah? If it fails, yeah, maybe it's better to fail in a small market than in the entire of Europe. Yeah? So we see that a lot with all these big and smaller companies, that trial markets for new products, new services is a very important characteristic as well. And of course, we also deploy a lot of test beds. Yeah? Also, our company is involved in that. Yeah? New applications, new products. just trying them out. How does it work in the field? Yeah? And you can see from this picture, this is in the countryside in Belgium. Countryside in Belgium looks very different. Countryside in Taiwan. So you have to adapt. You have to adapt to the local market, to the local society. Yeah? And you can only learn from that if you do a test bed. Yeah? So, Belgium, small country. Brussels, nearby we have the city of Leuven. Yeah? Leuven is Dutch, Louvain in English. And Leuven is actually a very, very old city. Yeah? Most of the people outside the healthcare industry know Leuven as the original birthplace of the largest brewing company in the world. Yeah? AB InBev originated, still the headquarters is there, and is the largest beer brewing company in the world. Yeah? But this is a health tech forum, so I'm not going to talk further about beer. I'm going to talk further about Leuven. Actually, the interesting thing is Leuven is also the house of, or the home actually, of one of the oldest universities in Europe. Yeah? Catholic University of Louvain is almost 600 years old. Yeah? I think it's the oldest Catholic university in the world even. Yeah? And already in 1425, I had to look it up, already in 1425, a faculty school of medicine was established. Yeah? And of course, this creates a lot of brilliant minds that help in the innovation. Yeah? Located also in Leuven is Europe's largest university hospital. Yeah? We partner with them, we use them, but also many other companies to deploy trials, very early trials, you know, novel technologies, new applications, new products, and we partner with them to try it out. And size is important. For example, if you try to chase viruses, if you try to chase really issues that require a large percentage of a large size of population to be tested. Yeah? Size is important. So having a clinical partner so nearby is really, really useful, very important. Yeah? And I'm talking about this because actually IMEC, my company, is located in Leuven. Yeah? And we are part of this organization, what we call Leuven Mindgate. So on one hand, Leuven is a very, very old city, yeah? A lot of traditional, historical center, yeah? But on the other hand, we also work on high-tech, yeah? And using this high-tech to innovate in healthcare. So IMEC actually, we have to be humble, but we believe we are at the world-leading institute for nanoelectronics and digital technology. And basically what we do, a large part of our team, actually what we do is making transistors smaller. That's the essence what we do. We already do that for 35 years. And maybe we will continue to do that for another 35 years. Yeah? So really wafer industry. Yeah? And we invested more than 2 billion euro in building infrastructure. Not only clean rooms to do wafer processing, but for example, also the nerve lab, yeah, where we study and try to find tools to help doctors overcome brain diseases. Yeah? Think about neural implants, think about ways to overcome Alzheimer's disease. Yeah? So it's a combination of semiconductor technology and medical healthcare innovation. 200 billion euro, yeah, where does that go? Well, it goes into these kind of big machines. Yeah? And these kind of big expensive machines, that's what you need to make transistors smaller and smaller and smaller every year. Yeah? And so we perform research by using this type of machines and equipment. But of course, we also invite many friends and collaborators from worldwide. Today, there's about 500 industrial residents from all over the world staying in Leuven and collaborating with IMEC. There's also a sizable team of Taiwanese actually staying in Leuven doing scientific research. And not even talking about students, exchange students that we have together with 3 universities here in Taiwan to do the dual degree program. Yeah? And why do I all talk about this semiconductor? Because we believe really semiconductor can help to bring innovation in healthcare as well. Yeah? Why? Because chips can help to make size of healthcare tools smaller, larger integration, more features, more functions in a smaller size. Of course, it's easy to duplicate, easy to scale up chip production, and of course cost can also be reduced. Yeah? And for people who follow me a little bit, you probably notice that this is one of my old slides that I recycled for this presentation. Yeah? I made this slide a couple of years ago at the height of the Ebola virus pandemic. And I thought, actually, even though this slide is already maybe 3, 4, 5 years old, it's still very, very actual. Yeah? And really, it's about rapid diagnosis. Yeah? That's what we are after. That's where we emphasize on at IMEC. And if you can move the slide a little bit up, then you can see a little bit more detail in the bottom, because these are the important details. So really what we think is that silicon chip technology can help to make diagnosis much faster. Yeah? And I'm sorry, I hope there's nobody from this company in the room here, but just take the example of this tabletop device, which is a very common tool used for PCR in laboratories worldwide. Yeah? Then you can see here on this axis the time that is needed to make the analysis. It's more than an hour. And that's great, you know, that's state of the art. But think about you are in the airport in Brussels, waiting to catch your next flight, and you have to wait 2 hours to get the results. Do you have COVID or not? Versus, you can do that in 5 minutes. Yeah? And that's what we have been able to achieve with this chip that IMEC developed. And probably not so many here in this room have experience with semiconductor, but we are talking about here micrometers scale. Yeah? So this is not millimeters, this is not centimeters, it's micrometers. Yeah? So the whole chip, at least this one, is about this size. Yeah? And the big advantage is that you can do it much, much, much faster. Yeah? That's a game changer. Doing a COVID test in 5 minutes versus 2 hours is a game changer. And this is one of the chips, biochips, that IMEC developed and can do cell sorting very, very rapidly. Yeah? So we talk about viruses, but another issue is cancer, and you want to detect cancer very early on, so you need to do the sorting, blood sample, then sorting of the cells very, very quickly. Same ideas, how can we do diagnosis in a very fast way? Yeah? And probably I'm not going to ask that, but probably the video is not working, but if it's working, what you see here, actually, you see little channels, micro channels, and the blood sample is flowing through these channels. And there's also little cameras, let's call it cameras on these chips, very tiny lens-free cameras, and they can detect each cell passing by. Yeah? And then with a bubble of steam, each cell, depending on the characteristic, white blood cell, red blood cell, is being pushed in one or the other direction. And if you keep doing that very, very quickly, you accumulate in containers, little containers, the white and the red blood cells and maybe cancer cells, and you can do the detection very quickly. Yeah? That's the concept about it. And there's many more things to say, but just to give you some highlights. Yeah? And why this is important? Because you can use the semiconductor technology not only to develop chips for mobile phones, but also to bring innovation in healthcare. Yeah? And again, this is a slide I recycled, still very, very relevant. We do this to achieve this type of results. Yeah? This is one of our clients, former clients, Genelite, American company, which we helped to speed up the diagnosis of Ebola. Yeah? Because Ebola, same issue in the past, it took days, it took later on hours, to make the diagnosis. It's very, very difficult to keep tracing people if the diagnosis takes such a long time. We have been able to help them to speed up this diagnosis test much, much, much faster than the traditional tabletop devices. And of course, the next step is really about personalized drugs. And you all read the newspapers, and they're full with articles that countries worldwide or companies worldwide are really in a quest to find a vaccine for COVID. And vaccines, actually, why it takes such a long time to develop them? Well, it's still merely a manual process. You have to try out many different formulations, and just takes time. And of course, you can speed up that a little bit by adding more people, but that has really its limitations. So this is the next frontier where that IMEC also has been investing in the past years quite a considerable amount of effort. And keep this kind of petri dish in mind. Actually, what we developed is a new chip, a multi-electrode array chip. And actually, what you see here, these little black dots, are all electrodes. Can measure the electrical activity, and you can grow a cell. It can be a kidney cell, there can be other type of cells. You can grow tissue even on top of that chip. Measure the growth response, measure also the response to certain new drugs, and see how is the cell evolving. The big advantage here is you can do that in an automated way. You do not need a laboratory assistant looking into the microscope, looking at thousands of petri dishes every day and trying to figure out which has the best response. You can automate it. It goes much, much faster. Multi-electrode array is the next step in drug research. All using semiconductor technology. So, 10 minutes ago, I told you, well, we're just a small country, just a Xiaoyidian, So how can we impress? Well, I think we are very proud that even that small country can have a lot of impact worldwide through high tech, through innovation. And I always talk about the IMEC, I talk about our geographical location, but IMEC is not the only innovative company in Belgium. There's many, many more very advanced companies. Probably you never heard of those before, but often they are really the leader in their niche market. Really advanced technology. No matter in the area of Leuven or the area of Brussels, there's really a very nice ecosystem. And I'm also happy that many Taiwanese, well, many, of course, never enough, but already in the past years, many Taiwanese companies, they found somehow the way to set up collaborations with these high-tech companies. So, thank you very much, and really, I hope to see you in Belgium one time soon. 谢谢.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Lemons. 下一位讲者是来自丹麦的 Dinesen， 奥尔堡大学的教授和实验室负责人。他将透过 Webex 的方式和大家分享他今天的主题：新冠肺炎中丹麦的远距医疗创新。Next, we are going to have Dr. Dinesen, Professor and Head of Laboratory of Welfare Technologies, Aalborg University in Denmark. He will share telehealth innovation in Denmark in the era of COVID-19 through WebEx. Please let's welcome Dr. Dinesen with our applause.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you for being invited for this opportunity. It's very early in the morning here in Denmark. The sun is shining, so that's a good start. Will you please take the next slide?
下一页，谢谢。
So as you can see here, Denmark is in the top of Europe, and we are a very little country like Belgium. Next slide, please. Our capital is Copenhagen, and we have a population of 5.7 million. We speak Danish. We are a welfare state. That means we pay a high tax, but then we have free schools for our children, free hospital care, and we also have free elderly care. Please take the next slide. So our healthcare system in Denmark is based on 3 levels. We have a national level, regional level, and the local level. At the national level, they are more for strategic healthcare, and at regional level are the ones who are driving the hospitals or who are running the hospitals. And at the local level, we have district nursing, elderly care, and general practitioners and healthcare centers. We have about 98 municipalities. Next slide, please. Denmark is in the forefront on digitalization. I'm a professor of telemedicine, telehealth, and in 2012 we did a study where we could do home monitoring of COPD patients, and we could decrease readmission with 54%. That was the initiator for the first national plan on implementing telemedicine in Denmark. And since then we have had more strategies. And the strategy that are just finishing is that it has to be easy to use, high quality, and we want, of course, high security and user confidence. Our strategy, next slide, please. Our strategy at the moment is that we would like to improve the collaboration between hospitals and the municipalities. We want to have equal access for health. We also want to have one access for the general practitioners. We using patient-reported outcome, want to involve, we want to collaborate with the patients, and we're also looking at digital rehabilitation. Next slides. So the status on digitalization in Denmark today, and we think Denmark is a great country to come and collaborate with, is that we are among the top 3 most digitalized countries among the 28 EU member states in 2020. Most of our public services are going digital. Citizens in Denmark are the most frequent users of internet in the EU. And we are gradually implementing a digital by default strategy so that most frequent use citizens public service taking advantage of the high percentage of e-government users. So this is also a very good for Denmark as a test bed. Next slide, please. So in Denmark, we have a national e-health portal. You can see the yellow card. An advantage in Denmark is that all Danes have an individual identification number. So that means if you want to come and do clinical research in Denmark, you can have a very good data quality. We have data on everything on all patients. So with this yellow card, when we enter this Danish e-health portal, we can view our own hospital patient record. We have 2 systems in Denmark, 3. We will have 2 very soon. We can book appointment with our GPs. We can renew prescriptions. We can monitor our own drug. We can see waiting list. We can register as an organ and get access to disease management systems in outpatients clinics. So this is a very high advantage with this Danish e-health portal. So one access to all our information, but also regarding clinical research and data, this has big advantage. Next slide, please. So we call Denmark a telehealth solution. We have a national infrastructure for telehealth. Here on the right-hand side, you can see different examples. We do, on a national base, home monitoring of COPD. The next to come is heart failure patients. If you have wounds in your home, you can send pictures to the hospital. You can have chemo at home. We can monitor pregnant women at home. We can have, when the young parents are having their first baby, they can go home and have a close contact to the hospital, telepsychiatry, and so forth. So we are very advanced in this area. After the next slide, please. After this COVID pandemic, we have even more advanced our e-health in Denmark. We were locked down from March until May, and we were very innovative. So the GPs, they have going from not using video with the patients, they within a couple of weeks, they had what they call my video doctor, because the patients, even though it's free to go to the doctor, they didn't want to go to the doctor because of the COVID-19. But now they could see these video consultations with their GPs with a great success. We have also advanced video consultations with hospital, district nursing, and healthcare nursing. We have seen virtual admissions to home. We have also seen the use of telepresence robots. So we have advanced our telehealth even more. I would like now, next slide please, to give you just some example of research within telehealth and telerehabilitation here from Aalborg University. I have been one of the pioneers in this area in Denmark at the moment. And the next slide please. And what we are looking at is we have a project for cardiac patients, heart failure patients, where we made a heart portal where we having patients using wearable technologies so that they can share data with the hospital, with the GP, with the healthcare center, and even if they go out doing leisure. Next slide, please. So at this, here you see that we have the patient on the left-hand corner, and he's using sleep sensors. He's using the Fitbits to monitor his physical activity, and we have an interactive heart portal. What we are doing is we are trying to train our patients to be more aware of their own symptoms so that they can avoid being readmitted to hospital. We have done the first RCT study with 140 patients, and we have very positive results. So you see one of our patients, he couldn't even go very far. Now he's biking around and he's using his Fitbit and his data, and we're building in algorithms of big data analysis so we can help giving the patients and the clinicians tools for better decision support. So this is a project where we have been collaborating with Japan. We have some cardiologists we're working with from Junjinto Hospital in Japan. So examples of how we can also collaborate, advance research within clinical telerehabilitation. The next example, and the next slide, please, is on telepalliation. Patients in their homes are waiting too long in Denmark in order to have palliative doctors or the palliative team coming to help by doing pain management. Here we are starting a new project also to get all forces together and to help making it more individualized and help the patients. So again, we are trying really to support with digital technologies, and we work here from Aalborg University, problem-based research. So we always have a problem we want to solve or challenges, and we work very interdisciplinary. So the next slide, please. So why should you choose Denmark as a testbed? Of course, we think you should come and knock on our doors. We have very good data, and we have this individual numbers, so they are very good individual data you can collect during clinical trial. Another thing that we are very good at here in Denmark is we involve, you can see the pictures that we have a lot of patients. This is from one of my research projects. Mostly we start our projects within telehealth, telerehabilitation by having co-production or user-driven innovation where patients, relatives, and healthcare professionals and companies and researchers together sit down and talk about challenges and how to overcome this. But I think in order to come to Denmark as a testbed, it's very important that you make up your mind whether I work very closely with the US and with Japan, but that is your technology CE marked, ready to go and be tested, or do you need to do clinical testing? I would like to give you some example on how you can come to Denmark as a testbed. So please take the next slide. So Denmark, we can do here at most universities, but we can do student projects for free. So if you can come, and we have students, they can write English projects, maybe even scientific papers. But if you want to go for the next steps, like feasibility studies in laboratories, pilot tests in real life, most our municipalities, we have living laboratories. and then for RCT study, it will we will need to find some funding. Next slide, please. We have what we call healthcare for Denmark. Here, of course, I know we can't travel, but when the COVID-19 is away, you can always request for a visit and come and visit municipalities and regions. Most municipalities have living laboratories or test centers. And that's mostly when you have technologies you want to have tested that are CE marked or on the way. And then the regions, they have innovation laboratories, so they're very open for collaboration. I have some examples, next slide please, from my research collaboration with Japan, called the JD Teletech. Next slide please. So last fall we had a student group, next slide please. You can see here, and this was a software company called His Nordic. They had developed a software system for telerehabilitation of diabetes patients. So they came and they met with the group, that's the upper picture. And this group of my students, they were testing the software system in a healthcare center in Denmark with 5 patients. And the company, they lent iPads and Fitbits for the students. And the output was a scientific paper. So this was a free way, and it can be a good way to start collaboration. The next slide, please. From Japan, they have developed this cute little robot called Lovett. We are testing that as the first partners in the world because they would like to take advantage of our welfare system with nursing homes. So we have 3 nursing homes from Aalborg, Skive, and Viborg, and Aalborg University. And we applied for funding here in Denmark. So GrowX, that's the Japanese company, come and lend us the technology with very advanced AI technology in this social robot. And then we found funding in Denmark for testing it. So we're proud we can be first movers on testing it, and they are happy that they can have it tested in Denmark because they would like to use us as access to the rest of Europe. So this is another example. The last example, next slide please, is a confidential project that I've been doing over the last couple of years with Chai-Chen from Tokyo, Japan. Here we have been working different phases. I can't say what the technology is because it's a confidential project, but it's a new method for detecting worsening of symptoms for heart failure patients in their home. And you can see we have done different phases. We have been in the lab, we have been out at a healthcare center, and we should have done a RCT study, but that's on hold at the moment due to this COVID-19. But here it's been a co-financing between Chai-Chen and Aalborg University. It's been a very fruitful collaboration, and we hope to take it up again when the COVID-19 situation is more under control. But these are examples on how also Taiwan and Denmark could collaborate, all depending on what kind of technologies you have and what are the next steps you want to take. So the last slide, please. We have beautiful water all around us in Denmark. So I would take the chance to say, well, how can we take the next steps within biotech in healthcare? Could be to make some webinars to approach each other closer and talk about challenges and what could be areas for collaboration. Could also be to establish a network. I have good experience with that from the US, where I have a network, the TTR in, that has been collaborating for 9 years, and Japan now for 4 years. But what's very important in order to increase and take next level of collaboration is to secure government support, find some champions, fundraising, homepage, action plan, but in order to get going. So we hope that this can inspire you, and we hope for future collaboration with Taiwan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dinesen. Thank you very much for your sharing. 下一位讲者是来自意大利的 Stefano Niglo，ICE 和 ITA 罗马的外国投资部门经理。他要分享的主题是在意大利生物科技的投资机会。Our next speaker is Mr. Stefano Niglo, Director of Foreign Direct Investment Department of ICE and ITA in Rome. He will talk about investment Opportunities for Life Sciences in Italy through WebEx. Please let's welcome Mr. Niglo with our round of applause.
In my short presentation, I will try to explain briefly why Italy is an important country for life science and biotechnology. Actually, Italy is one of the top locations in the world for the life science jobs. It's at the top of Europe for the production value in the pharma sector. It's one of the most prominent European countries in R&D in different fields. It's not strange, therefore, that many multinationals of the sector have production or R&D activity in our country. In my following presentation, we'll underline some pinpoints on, first, why you should evaluate Italy in your investment plan. Second, what kind of support you could receive whenever you decide to invest in Italy. And third, what are the opportunities the player from the Italian market that you could find whenever you decide to come to our country. First of all, according to the Atikerni FDI Confidence Index, Italy is one of the top 10 most attractive countries for multinational company. Even the period has changed the attitude to invest of many companies. The reason why multinational looks to our country are still valid. First of all, high quality of the production. Second, high quality of the human resource and specifically of our researcher. And third, a strong logistic platform and a strategic position. Life science sector in Italy accounts for around 10% of one of the top 10 GDP in the world. Italy is the European leading country in the pharma production value. It has one of the most prominent biomedical clusters in the world, as it's well-known Mirandola district. And the capability of our researcher in the biotechnology segment are well recognized. The pharma, it's important to underline that Italy is an accessible platform for exporter. 80% of the pharma production manufactured in Italy is exported abroad. In the last 10 years, no other European country has seen the same export growth rate. And but Italy is also strong in manufacturing. And this is thanks to constant investment in production lines and new technology. Almost 25% of the European pharma CDMO manufacturing value is produced in our country. Looking to human resource, the quality of our human resource is high, but the cost is very competitive comparing to the other European countries. The number of qualified human resources employed in the sector is growing and growing every year. Quality of our human resource bring to the fact that the quality of the Italian R&D is also very high. In biotech, vaccines, advanced therapies, Italy is one of the perfect locations for the company, the multinational company, Italian company that are investing in the sector. And in the last 5 years, no other European country has seen an increase in the pharma R&D as Italy did. It's not strange, therefore, that many multinationals have their own production R&D in Italy. The reason, as I said, is the quality. Those are just few of the companies that are already invested in Italy. 60% of the Italian companies in the life science sector are foreigner. So if you want to be the next one, you are very welcome. I just would like to underline quite quickly what is the support that our country can provide whenever you are evaluating or deciding to invest in our country. Italy is open to foreign investment, and it is open thanks to the activity of our agency, the Italian Trade Agency, that has office around the world in 7 countries and has office in Taipei with the director Paolo Quattrocchi. And we develop a joint project with another agency in Italy, that is Invitalia, that is focusing on incentives, the so-called Invest in Italy project. We support the process through all the investment, through all the investment process. And the biggest investment we bring to a special committee of different ministry, the Ministry Committee for the Attraction of Foreign Investment, that follow the big investment in order to speed up the process and to make the investment more as effective as possible. We cooperate with the regional government, we cooperate with local association in order to strengthen our offer and to strengthen our support that we can provide to the foreign company. We have a very diversified portfolio of both products and services. We have technology and manufacturing project in life science and biotechnology. We have companies that are looking they are capital seeking. We have a list of greenfield and brownfield area. And then we have incentives. We have a portfolio of competitive advantage. Which can support you in the cost drill down and business planning. You can see in this picture the services and support we can provide with our partner that through all the real process of investment. Even if Italy is well known for incentives, I mean, the main reason why multinationals are investing in Italy is not for the incentive, but it's the quality of the products and the human resource. It's clear that mainly for production and R&D, there are some fiscal benefits, incentives that go through large investment in industrial prices, R&D investment, Industry 4.0, startups. In this chart that you can see, there are some example of the incentive that you can get whenever you decide to invest in some specific area of the country. Obviously, south part of Italy is much more incentivable. The north part, that is more industrial, is much more as incentive for R&D. There are tax credits for the research and development. I mean, we have structured. We are structuring thanks also the funds that we have from the European Union. We have structured a program in order to facilitate fiscal benefit for the research and for the production. Italy is a vibrant ecosystem for life science, north to south. We have a strong ecosystem through really all the country. For example, in the north part, close to the Milan area, the most industrial area, we have the Milan Innovation District for Genomics that we will invest 1 billion euro in the next year to get this area in the top in the genomics. We have projects also related with COVID-19 in the north part, in Friuli, Venezia Giulia, northeast, or Piedmont, northwest. Tuscany hosts one of the top science park specialized investors, and GSK has one of the top R&D center for vaccines in the world in the Tuscany area. We look at the Emilia-Romagna, north part of Italy. There is an innovation hub on regenerative medicine. Lazio, the center where Roma is our capital city, is one of the top destination for pharma producer, and will probably produce some COVID vaccines in that area. But if we look at the south part, there are strong ecosystem for life science. For example, Apulia, as you see in the right side of the chart, is very strong innovative solution of COVID-19. Discovering the Italian ecosystem, you could find more and more opportunity provided by the Italian company and clusters. Therefore, I really hope to see you soon in Italy and discover one of the best countries in the life science sector. Thank you for the invitation, and we are at your disposal with our office in Taipei with Paolo Quadrocchi to answer to all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Niglo. Thank you for your sharing. 听完了欧盟代表介绍各国的情况，相信大家对于欧盟的生技与健康产业有了更深入的了解。接下来，我们要邀请台湾企业代表现身说法，谈谈台湾企业如何以自有品牌在欧洲发展，拥有哪些优势，以及遇到哪些挑战。After listening to the fruitful introductions by our EU representatives, let's move on to the experience sharing from the Taiwanese company, how Taiwan corporations expand in the EU with private labels. 让我们鼓掌欢迎李董事长。Please show your support to Chairman Lee.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank to EETO invitation. I'm Daniel Lee, the chairman of Apex Medical. The Apex was founded by 1990, about 30 years ago. First 10 years, we are just a medical trading company. We export the welfare rehabilitation aids to United States, to another global country. So after 10 years, because we meet the cost competition, a lot of people move to manufacture in China. How can we do? Because we have 70 family in Taiwan. So we make decision. We're going to steer group of the engineer from ITRI, from the moderator, Mr. Lee's ITRI. Thank you very much for you to give us many very high quality good engineer. So we're going to invest our value up technologies, making the product, and then we receive the chance. We became to have R&D, our in-house. We have our own manufacturer, and then we're going to work with a large brand company in the world. So we became to ODM business for second 10 years. By in year 2010, we decided to do our own branding. That means that we are going to bring the product. We like to give in the direct sales to the market. So we start from Europe. So this is why I have the chance today to share our experience in Europe. To do the global branding, Apex, we're going to make our own positioning as a medical device manufacturer and service provider. Because our head office, R&D, manufacturer, many located in Taiwan. So how to listen to the market, how to knowing about the patient needs, how to cooperate with caregiver. I think that's very, very important. So we say how to make the product definition. It's very important to do the things right first. And then we can do the right research and development. And then, of course, in Taiwan, we have very, very good advantage going to make good product quality, good cost control with regulatory and also clinical verification. So this is Apex we do. In our product line, we have two major lines. The one, it's a CPAP machine. This is CPAP machine going to provide people has a good, healthy sleep. When people has a sleep apnea, they need to have a CPAP machine. I think here, all the members, you are so young, so maybe you don't need the CPAP. But me, myself, I use the CPAP. Another product line, on about 50% of our business called pressure area care system. So for this business, we're doing quite well in whole Europe, in the world, even from our ODM business side, because we do more than 20 years, and we have a quite good quality, very high reputation with our customer service. Looking for this page, of course, COVID-19 make big hurt for all the global. I will say they also hurt a lot of economic because many countries go into lockdown. Till now, my European general manager, he stayed in Taiwan for 6 months. I still don't know how to let him go back to Europe. But we are lucky because in Europe, each one, our subsidiary, MD, we have our local people. They're doing very, 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 very hard work and good. As this picture, this is the picture we're going to have our high-end product called ProCare Optima. We're going to prevent for French hospital to give in the heavy sick patient when they have COVID-19. They get this LMHS. Why I say the LMHS is very important? Because when the COVID-19 happened, all the people going to say, I need to have ICU ventilator. So I received many phone calls from people, from governor. Hey, Mr. Lee, you make a CPAP. This is also ventilator. I said, no, thank you. This is home ventilator, but not for ICU use. Not for ICU. But when patient, you land on the bed, you need to have a high-end mattress to prevent your vessel. Because even you use ICU ventilator, you cannot lie on the floor, right? So this is why we're going to ship a lot of higher-end air mattress through France, not only France, even Spain, even UK, even Denmark, even Italy. We give this kinds of help for the people. During 10 years' time, our dedicated in the global branding, we work very hard. We learn a lot. Till now, we have 4 subsidiaries in Europe, 1 in Spain, UK, and France, and Germany. So today, till now, we have 85% of APAC business is our own brand. Inside APAC's revenue, about 50% of our business very focused in Europe. So that's today we are doing. So from about 12 years ago, we start our first branch in Spain. We're going to promote our branding. We're going to build our team, giving direct service. Till now, we work with some very large home care provider as a CPAP and mask machine. And then we also going to deliver to more than 1,200 home care dealers and also work with a hospital. So today in the Spain and Portugal, I will say every day there's about 10,000 of the patient going to use our LMHS. There's 10,000 of the patient, they're going to sleep, use our CPAP machine and mask. There's more than 10,000 elderly, they're going to use power chair and scooters as an Apex brand. So let's spend business we are doing. At the ball, a few years ago, we're going to acquire our partner in UK. But that business beginning from rental business from LMHS rental. So from right now, we're going to transform this business, become to nationwide distribution as our main sales and service model. And also, we're going to establish our own office in France. So this French company office going to have about 3.5 years warm-up time, going to make the better service, get the reimbursement call. So we will have a good growing for the future. About 2 years ago, we made one big decision. We're going to buy the building and warehouse. After that, in Germany, after that, we're going to move our German subsidiary inside to this building. So from September, we acquire 100% of this, our German subsidiary, and then we are going to set up our European headquarters for the future. Why we call European headquarters? Because I think the research center, I think it's very important to set up in the field, because when you're doing the medical, as I say, how to listen to the patient's correct voice, how to co-work with gatekeeper as Dr. Ho, your background, and how to know in each country's insurance system. I think it's very good to have a research center at the local. Then we can make the concept design. After that, we can bring all the product research and development and manufacturing from Taiwan and give it back to local service. That's about the idea we will do it first. And secondly, I think the logistic and quick response for all around the European Apex brand partner, it's also important for our second purpose. So the last page, I'd like to share one Apex concept. I think when you bring the company to be the globalized, there's kinds of the distance problem and also need to consider how to management. So we talk about this. The one, you need to have a global standard as the product himself, as the branding standard, as the management system. We need to have globalized. But how to respect the local touch? I believe, especially in medical, each one country, each one market has a different demand, different regulation, and even different clinical requirement. So this is we like to leave for our local to do it, to make their own decision. But in between, I believe the talent is the core. How to find a good talent, how to give in the trust each other, how to respect the culture, the lifestyle. I think even from headquarters, you cannot have too much judgment. So this is why we have 4 subsidiaries, MD, all is local people, because they have local connection, they have their medical insight. Just for example, if I have more than 1,000, 2,000 dealers, how can I send in one Taiwanese manager going to Spain visiting dealers? I think that's very, very tough and very difficult. So I think that the talent, we need to use local, and we need to respect, we need to get the trust. So this is about my, today's presentation, and I'd like to say, just let go to Europe. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
我们谢谢李董事长精彩的分享。 Thanks for the wonderful sharing. 各位贵宾，请先稍等一下，我们将为接下来的讨论做准备。Please give us a couple of minutes as we are going to set up the panel discussion. Okay. 紧接着，我们将会进行分论坛讨论。首先，我们先邀请现场语坛人 Mr. Ho 上台 ，Mr. Lemons 上台和 Chairman Lee 上台。另外，也邀请我们线上语坛人 Dr. Dinesen 和 Dr. Castellani 一同参与讨论。Now we will move on to panel discussion. First of all, let's welcome Mr. Ho, Mr. Peter, and Chairman Lee onto the stage. We will also have our online speakers, Dr. Dinesen and Dr. Castellani, with us today for the discussion. 让我们欢迎李理事长主持接下来的讨论。Now, I would like to hand over the microphone to the moderator, Chairman Lee. The floor is yours.
Okay. Welcome to the session again. We have 2 panelists online and 3, including myself, 4 on the stage. So first of all, I think I would like to thank all the presentations. It's very interesting. Every speaker has a different aspect and very enlightening. So perhaps the first we should ask the panelists, do you have questions of the other panelists? And especially those online, would you like to, since you are far away, but we would like to give priority to you first. Would you like to ask any questions from your side?
Please, Dr. Dinesen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for a very interesting morning here in Denmark. I would like to ask what are the areas of interest specific? Is it that you in Taiwan would be interested in? Is it?
What would we be interested? I think everyone would be interested in different area, but generally speaking, healthcare and biotechnology industry has been considered as one of the top priority by the government, and we have devoted a significant part of the resources to develop the industry. Just to give you a few numbers, for example, today in Taiwan, we have about 120 listed company, big or small, but they are already in public. So a public traded company, about 120. Compared to maybe about 15, 20 years ago, we have only about 30. So it has a significant growth in terms of number of companies. Also in terms of the revenues, and this I would say probably about 3 times higher than 10 years ago. And market capitalization also has grown quite a bit, especially after pandemic. A lot of companies start investing in the biotech and healthcare sector. So this is a very, as of today, is a very important and interested industry in Taiwan. And we have drug discovery companies, we have new medical device companies, both in research, development, and also in production. And we have, relating to pandemic, we have, today we have 3 vaccines under development. I think 1 is entering into clinical trial, and 5 new drugs for COVID-19 under development. So that's sort of very quick summary of our industry today. All right, so they may be interested in many different aspects. Could be a drug discovery, pharmaceutical, healthcare, technology, medical devices. And Chairman Lee from Apex, he would have some comments.
Okay. I talk about Denmark. As an Apex business, today we have 4 subsidiaries, but we don't have office in Denmark yet. But in Denmark, we have one very long year and very good partner. So we cooperate together. We listen to the caregiver needs, and then we're going to bid the tender from our high-end L matrix. So through last few years, we won several very large tender. Almost we own 50% of the Denmark market share with our partner, with our own brand. So that it's very fantastic results. And we also going to talk to our partner in the future after COVID-19. Can we go together? Either we going to capitalize for some way, and then we can go to develop the market in second billion, because I think North Europe has very high-end, very high healthcare system. So why we don't, going to work together? So I think that's kinds of the interesting, but we need to go step by step. We need to make small win, and then we go for next, something like that. Thank you.
Yeah, Boris, since you talked about telehealthcare, I just come to my mind that it's probably many people are curious about regulations. In Taiwan, during pandemic, we do use quite a bit of digital technology, but telehealthcare is not the one that we are very good at because of regulations, and we cannot use telemedicine to prescribe a drug, for example. Medical doctor cannot give a prescription over telehealthcare. Can you do that in Denmark?
Yes, I mentioned we have this national e-health portal. So through here, you can have if my husband had an infection in his fingers, so one night, Friday night, he called them, the doctor went online, and then he prescribed penicillin. So my husband could go to the pharmacy and the prescription, because it was shared on this e-health portal. So because we have this national infrastructure, we are able to share it. So we had overcome that, and it works very smoothly.
So so in that respect, Taiwan should improve in our regulation. But on the other hand, if you have good innovation in Taiwan, you could go to Denmark to practice your telehealthcare technology, right? That's one opportunity.
You are welcome.
Anyone else? Dr. Ho?
So I have one question regarding the telehealth medicine. So as Dr. Lee said, in Taiwan, it's still not possible yet. So who are reading all the materials submitted from the patients are those materials information submitted to the hospital and the doctors, they are reading the information, or how do you evaluate the information sent?
Do you mean the data that are sent from the homes?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we have a nurse, and we put in intelligence also on the data that are submitted, but it's mostly nurses. And then we put like a traffic light on the data, so you can put up limits. So in my projects, we have pulse, blood pressure, weight, ECG. So we both teach the patients to be aware of what's normal and unnormal data. But then when it's submitted to the hospital, there's a nurse who's qualified for it, who would look at it. But you also get help from like a traffic light, where we have put in some intelligence to help monitor, because if you have many patients, you need to see, are these patients on the way to have worsening of symptoms or not. So there are like 3 levels. And then if she has some questions, she goes to the doctor, because we want to use the doctor's time in a wisely manner, and we want to work smarter. And I think we all do that. So that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I think that explains the difference between Taiwan and Denmark, because in Taiwan, only doctors can make diagnosis. So nurses, they are not allowed to do that. So I think that's a regulation difference.
Yes, that's a big difference.
We also give a lot of responsibility to the patients. So just very shortly, yeah.
Maybe a quick question from my side. In one of your examples, you shown the use of wearables and other devices from some well-known brands. I think these are more common mainstream devices. Let's call it the general term, the Fitbits, etc. Is that the right perception that you try to make use as much as possible of mainstream devices, or is it more towards specialized devices, maybe class 2B medical devices? Can you explain a little bit your approach?
When I started my research 5 years ago with all this wearable, people were looking at me and saying, why are you taking sports devices and putting them into healthcare? But in the US at that time, they had already integrated like the step counter into the EPIC system, electronic patient record, because it was important to see if cardiac patients are moving, do they have physical activities. Today, under this COVID-19, it has been a big, we have done a randomized controlled trial. So by using these devices, we can monitor cardiac patients that are really afraid of going into the hospital, both with heart failure, but also atrial fibrillation. So we can monitor ECG, sleep, physical activity, pulse, weight, and video. So we could do it all virtual. So now it really has shown its worth for patients, both under a pandemic, but also on the long run, so that we again can give the data to the patients and have a nurse looking at it, but also teach the patients to monitor themselves. So after they've been hospitalized, it's important that they get well back to everyday life or to work, because it's expensive also to have patients who are not at work, because we're a welfare state, so we need to pay for them. So there are many incentives. So by using this wearable, we have some new tools in order to help patients in everyday life monitor themselves, and we can have the most sick patients at the hospital, but still have an eye on the other ones and help them get smoothly into everyday life again.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from Italy?
Yes, thank you. Well, we also use a telehealthcare system. Actually, the patient has to write the symptoms he has to his doctor, and only the doctor can give a prescription to the patient. So it's a system we also use here because our doctors are pretty busy. We have lots of would-be patients, even perhaps with small issues, but they need to go to a doctor, and doctors can't really have huge queues in the offices or sitting outside the doors. They need to also do other work. And it is very important just to keep only the very ill patients, especially nowadays with COVID-19, the critically ill patients in hospitals. Other patients have to be cured at home. They have to stay at home if possible, or get well as soon as possible. This is also here relevant. So we are more or less on the same wavelength as Denmark. Probably the systems are developed in a slightly different way, but this is true also for Italy. I believe in large parts of Europe, probably the system is very similar.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that just now Mr. Negro introduced a lot of tax incentives and other measures
Yes.
that are inviting Taiwanese to invest in Italy. I know that some of the diagnostic company are selling some diagnostic product to Italy for COVID-19, so they might be considering investing there. Okay, any other comments or questions from floor, from the panel? If not, then we can take questions from the floor, if there is any. Yes, please.
Hi. I was just curious, in the continuity of thinking of regulations, whether there was any collaboration between these research institutes like IMEC and the work that's been done by the team of Bert Dennison between these institutions and the regulatory authorities. I work in regulatory and quality assurance for medical devices, and I know, for example, the FDA in the US is really working very hard, particularly in digital health, in finding solutions for these businesses to actually exist beyond just the innovation. I'm curious about what's happening in Europe on that front.
Anyone, would you like to comment?
Yeah, maybe from the perspective of IMEC. So of course, even though we are focusing on semiconductor, but we very closely work with the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Science and Technology. And I think we have a kind of role also to educate. Often we are talking about innovation, things that people are not so used to. You have sometimes also conservative voices. So I think we are at the forefront, and we need to show examples. We need to educate, need to explain what are the advantages of the new technologies, because often there's a little bit of fear as well. And so yes, we work with ministries, we work with policymakers. We try to help them to address potential concerns, ethical concerns also. The example I gave, we work closely also with university hospitals so that we can really capitalize on existing flows. So if you want to disrupt and you try to disrupt everything at once, then you get resistance. So it's a little bit like this infinite amount of little pressure. And if you keep doing that, I think then gradually people try to can adopt, and they get a little bit used to giving up their old-fashioned thinking and maybe embrace newer technology. But it's a process, and even from the technology side, we need to participate. It's not just a society issue.
Could I ask two of you, either Daniel or Dr. Ho, to comment about regulatory in EU?
I'd like to say from Taiwan medical industry, because I'm also the director of that association. But from our member, we really has a lot of uncertainty. I will say that because when EU going to announce CMDR as the new regulation, but because of the COVID-19, now they say, okay, we will delay 1 year. Sounds good, but there's not many third party in Taiwan yet. to get the authority. And then even the CMDD, the original regulatory, our member, our association member tried to book the schedule, but many of third party refused. They say, no, we are fully booking. No, today, because there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of complicated. So, how can we do? So a lot of our members only say, okay, we look for another market because we don't know how to do it. Even I believe there's another cost issue because from new MDR, each company, each medical industry company, you need to invest more money from beginning, from the clinical evaluation, all the process control. Of course, I believe this is the right process, but only the problem is schedule. So I don't know, do like EU, office or some people, governor can help something.
Yeah.
Then maybe you can bring Taiwan company as more interesting. Otherwise, maybe if people think, oh, that's take long time and too much money, then they will.
Right.
They will
That
stop
certainly
it.
is a very important issue in 2 years, and a new sort of certification system. So maybe if we have the same forum next year, we should bring someone to explain all these new regulatory issues.
If I may offer myself, I'm myself a regulatory person that specializes in the EU MDR and IVDR. And I don't think we have 2 years, actually. We have just 1 more year. So, yeah, it got pushed out of 1 year until May, but that's only for medical devices. And then 3 more years for all the diagnostics. So I'd highly recommend that Taiwanese companies get on it.
Right, a lot of people asking questions in that area. Dr. Ho?
Yeah. So according to our experience, so we just received our certification, C certification end of last year, and that's according to MDD. But since we have already a reliable partner in Austria, so actually we started to prepare for MDR. Actually, already 1 year ago. So we prepare all the clinical data, which is actually will be the focus of the MDR. And I think this will be an advantage just to find a reliable partner in Europe, and that will bring the business further.
Okay, any comments from Italy or from Denmark on the regulatory issue?
On the regulatory, it's a bit tricky for me as I'm not in the medical sector. I'm an expert of foreign investment attraction, which is slightly a different thing. But I might add something, I hope, of value. As many of our companies, Dr. Nico said, are foreign invested companies. In the pharmaceutical and biotech sector, about 60% of our companies have foreign capital. So Italian companies are very ready to join forces with foreign companies. Joint ventures might be a vehicle. Our companies join every year the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference in San Francisco to find partnerships to help them develop products, ideas, patents, and the like. So this partnership might be a viable way to enter the European market. Then every country also has its own regulations, so I can't really speak for all of Europe. But partnering with a local company might help in some ways.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from Berth?
I would like to comment just on the regulatory question. I've been working with countries from abroad, and I think EU, we have these GDPR rules at the moment, but working with Japan on digital health has not been a problem. We have made good agreements, so we have been able to do research together. And like you said, Dr. Castellani, we have local we have lawyers at universities that can help making data agreement, but we also have local companies that can help. So I don't see that we would in this area. I think the challenges are there to be solved, so it shouldn't be a barrier for collaboration.
Okay, I think today we have all the speakers. I believe that several of you are talking about collaboration through innovations, but also Daniel is pretty much looking at the market, right? Marketing, branding, market, enter into the EU market. And I don't know, maybe you can comment about some challenges going into EU. There might be some cultural difference, maybe regulation other than in medical healthcare, but also regulation in human resources, immigration, investments, and those challenges.
Okay, I will say the challenge is there, but today because the forum purpose like to invite a lot of people from Taiwan go to invest to Europe, so maybe there's not too much time to talk too much about how much money we're going to lose. But I will say why we will need to go to Europe, because the European market is so big, because European has a high life level, and they have also very high innovation, elderly welfare system also very good. So I will say, if we don't need to go to Europe, then you can just go there for traveling, for going to spend the money, then you will get more happy. But doing the business, of course, you need to respect. That's another market, another country. So I like to give some, people, if you have interest, our Taiwanese, industry, if you like to go to Europe for the business, not for tour, I will say that first you need to have your self-confidence. Otherwise, you cannot have good sleep. You always think about every night somebody will spend my money or steal my money. But that's not right. That's not right. So I like to say the first is confidence. The second, especially for medical, you need to have local touch. So the local partner, I think it's very important. Either your business partner or either your own staff. So how to find the good talent, people, honesty, I think that's also important. Otherwise, if the talent is not right, I think you will make a lot of trouble afterward. And then I think how to know each other, respect each other, and get the trust. I think that's my third, suggestion. And then just take the time, learn from the mistake, but don't make big mistake. And then you will have the chance as Apex doing, because today we have very big confidence. We know even COVID-19 come, our European colleagues, they handle by themselves. They're working so hard. They do more business than they can do. And then I will say after COVID-19, we still like to keep investment. We like to grow in our business from Europe and then back to America. That's my comment.
Yeah, I remember that you were talking about the other day that that you have, there's always challenges. If there is no challenge, everyone will go there. So you have to overcome those hurdles in order to get into the business in Europe. But that's the way it is. If you want to go there, you have to overcome some of the hurdles, right? And importantly is that Europe in general, EU is a very trusted partner because the way, like President Tsai mentioned this morning, even though Europe may have many different languages, but the way, the culture and the way, the value system is consistent throughout all these countries, more or less the same. But on the other hand, if you go to Shanghai, Taipei, and Singapore, we have same language, but the value system is very different. So that could be even more difficult. But in Europe, generally speaking, it's pretty consistent doing business. So in that way, if you have a good belief, then that should be a way to go. Any comments from Dr. Ho?
So I think the CE certification will be the first step for a company to step into the EU market. However, different countries have different regulations regarding the reimbursement system. And I think so it is helpful to have local people helping us to expand the market.
Maybe a small comment from my side, and of course I'm biased as the only European here in the panel. I think, of course, as from business perspective, we have to be strong ourselves when you want to conquer a market. On the other hand, I would say also try to partner. On one hand, I think, yes, Europe may be a bit fragmented, but I think also the governments, the local governments, the trade agencies, they really are there to help people, to guide them, to find a way in the forest of all the local regulations. And somehow I think local governments can be trusted to do a good job. So let's not be afraid to contact local government and not try to find out everything by your own experience. That's one thing. Second thing, there's also, especially also on the regulations, the new regulations, there's a lot of advisory consultancy companies. Of course, there are some fee, it costs money, but many of them, we work with them, and they're also doing a great job in really advising. Because if you fail later, maybe it costs you even much more money than you have to spend up front. So really my recommendation would be, don't try to find it out all by yourself alone, but try to find people, try to find friends who help you, no matter in the trade agencies or in advisory companies.
Right, a trusted partner takes time, but it's very important. Let me put you on the spot, because you are on the other side, right? You're Belgium investing in Taiwan. You're in both sides, okay. How does that compare if you are talking about government support in Taiwan versus in Belgium, say, for example? How do you compare? You got a lot of support from Taiwanese government?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, on a personal level, I think for IMEC, we are here since 2008. I think that already says enough that we are happy to be here. Of course, I think semiconductor-wise, Taiwan is at the center of the electronics manufacturing industry, so it's geographically a very important place to be. So that's fine. I think regulation-wise, there are some differences still, but it's relatively on par with what we are used to in EU, used to in USA. And I think we get all the support that we like. So I think that's fine. We are growing the business, so that's fine. I think on the other hand, what I see from Belgium side, Belgian government or European government, I think there are a lot of events that are being organized still today, okay, then virtual events, but really to let people connect with each other, networking events, but also information sessions on all kind of different topics. It can be regulations, it can be tax incentives. Yes, everybody talk about high tax, but there are also some regulations or incentives, but you have to get to know it. And so I think this kind of event organization. I think still Europe and Belgium is very active in that on all kind of different levels, local level, really city level, regional level, but also country level and even European level. So I think it's really a matter of checking agendas, checking the event calendar, and making sure you attend one of these events and get to know all the information. Yeah?
Thank you. How about from Italy? Do you want to comment more about the support from the government for people to invest in Italy?
Yes, gladly. That's our job, basically. As a trade promotion agency and investment promotion agency, we work in this field. And the field has changed a lot over the past 3 decades. Since 1992, there's been a growing influx of foreign investments here in Italy. With the common market, with the European Union, so there's a chance to move capitals around Europe without barriers, and also to receive capitals. And our government has developed the structure, building a one-stop shop. Basically, we help would-be investors to gather information relevant to the investment here in our country and help them decide if the investment is a good idea for them or not, because we don't want unhappy investors. Basically, we try to help them understand if it is a good idea for them to come here to Italy or it is better to go to another place. And I believe one of the worst things you can have is an unhappy investor with a failure on his back. He's going to complain so much about your country that's going to ruin your market. We don't want unhappy people. We want to supply them the right information. They can ask us, as I was saying before, we are not doctors, but we have the right contact. We speak with the relevant authorities, regional authorities, local authorities, the ministries. We have an internal investment agency here in Italy. It's a company owned by the government, which supplies information inside Italy. We are the outreach. We speak with the investors abroad. And then we put them in touch with this agency with both things, investor and us, that the investment has chances to prosper here in Italy. So yes, European countries are highly developed countries. They have various layers of bureaucracy, of regulations, but they are usually to protect the investor and the people in the country. And we know it's not always easy for investors who don't speak our languages to understand where to go and what to ask and what to do, but we are here to help them. So I believe there are good chances for foreign investors to prosper in Europe and also in Italy specifically.
Those documents and explanation are all in English or Italiano?
Of course, we have Italian materials, but we mostly write our materials in English. English is our main language in this field of work, because we are not looking for Italian investors into Italy, but for foreign investors. So we need at least to translate into English. But we try to translate it also in other languages, and we have our investment guide translated also in Chinese. So we have translated Japanese, Chinese, German, French, Russian. So we have tried to address the needs of investors from different countries.
Great, thank you. I thought there were one question from the floor or from Denmark. Okay, Berth.
Yeah. Here from Denmark, I just want to say you had the question about governmental. We have in West Denmark, that's the Foreign Ministry of Denmark, and we have very good service if you're coming from Taiwan and want to have help to enter the Danish market. So we both have representatives in Taiwan, but also here in Denmark that can help you entering the market in different ways, from pharma to high-tech to digital health. So, and I give a very good service. I've seen it from over the years where I worked with Japan and Denmark. So I would like to give them a very good, it's a very good help I've heard from the foreign companies.
Thank you. Okay, any question from the floor? Yes, please.
Sorry, it's not really a question, but more like I don't want to like give the impression that actually, like I feel like the regulatory conversation was really like taking everyone down somehow in terms of investing in Europe. I just want to make sure that I also convey the fact that one of the advantages of Europe, and I'm not European, I just know that for fact, is that once you obtain the CE mark, there are so many, how to say, like mutual agreements of countries that recognize the CE mark. So when you go through this entirely supposedly painful process of getting the CE mark, including under the new EU MDR, you actually open also other markets for yourself, like Israel, Turkey, Australia, New Zealand, Canada in some instances. So I just didn't want to give the impression that Europe was not worth, actually entering as a market.
Okay, thank you for your comments. It's very important too. Yeah, all the regulatory are very rigorous and painful. Anyway, not just EU. Every country, every area is you have to go through that, and as long as you have a mutual recognition, then that would help you to move your product to different countries. Any additional comments from the floor? No? Okay. Innovations. How do you encourage Taiwanese medical industry to work with you?
Of course, we work with many countries, international, of course, also Taiwan. I think, of course, there's also the geographical limitation. So I showed you some of the photos of our laboratories, of our infrastructure. Yeah, you cannot duplicate that. So one working model that we have is we invite Taiwanese companies to come over to Belgium. Yeah? They send residents, typically for a year, 2 years, couple of years, to conduct together the investigation. Yeah? Can be very advanced research, but can be also towards more product development or even technology transfer. Yeah? And you have to do that really in the laboratory. And then after people return to their home country, in Taiwan, for example, of course, we will give them the long-term support. So that's one working model. I think a second working model is that really we also look at the system perspective. I think innovation is often happening at the lowest technology level block, the sensor or the chip technology, etc. But how do you innovate in applications? So digital transformation, there's also a very important aspect. If you have all these great chips, but you don't know how to use them, how to exploit the benefit of the technology, still you're not making progress. And that's what we saw long ago, that often you have great technology, but there's no market adoption. So all these efforts, they are for nothing. So that's the second pillar, really what we focus on, is helping these companies to innovate in the application. Sometimes even we use a little bit older technology. What for scientists is old, maybe for the market is still very good or very hot or very cost efficient. And so it's not always about the latest technology, but how do you bring all these building blocks together? So the holistic approach, looking at things from different perspectives, I think is also a strong element for Europe or for Belgium that we try to contribute. And I think being a small country, of course, we are humble, and that's why we can look at things from different perspectives.
Thank you, Peter. I visited IMEC a few times, and I must say that although many people think Taiwan is one of the leading country in semiconductor technology, maybe in manufacturing, but in terms of multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary integration, IMEC is really one of the top institutes in the world. So that's why TSMC and all these companies, they all have their top people visiting or working with IMEC. And now IMEC is also integrating with healthcare and medical technology. That's a very interesting direction to go. Okay. Just comments.
Thank you for the advertisement.
Okay, anyone would like to share some experience? You know, when we had a Bio-Asia Taiwan exhibition last year and this year, Italy always have one of the biggest booths. And last night I sit next to the representative from Italy, and he said next year they're going to have bigger, even bigger, more company to come to Taiwan. So this is very encouraging, and I think people ask me about why. I think maybe President Tsai also mentioned that EU invests in Taiwan. I think they have like 25% investment, but when we look at the investment back to Taiwanese investment to EU is only 2%, and why? They were asking about these questions, and one of my observation is that because many people know U.S. They have studied in the United States, and they have friends are visiting in the United States, and they have a lot of activities. But on the other hand, there aren't as many from Europe, or not as many activity. So maybe a forum like this would be helpful to get more people's attention. People are not familiar with the EU, and it's good to visit and good to have a trip to Europe just for vacation, but for going for business, it's a little bit scary. Typically, I mean, people just don't feel as familiar as all other countries, and actually, they probably are not that difficult. So that's one of the comments that I hope next year we'll have similar event or in the near future, so that people will have more chance to get to know all the EU member countries. Any more comments? We still have a few.
Chairman Lee.
Okay.
Can
yes. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Yes, well, I believe it's very true what you say, that we could improve the situation, but the situation is not that bad, I would say, because of course one has to understand also what is behind it. Italy has a lot of many small companies. Our companies are not very large on average, and this holds true also for other European countries. So it's not always easy for them to reach to the Far East, as we call it, to Taiwan and Japan and the Pacific. But we do business, and in previous postings, I've seen quite often Italian Taiwanese companies side by side, the pavilion standing next to each other in trade shows. We do a lot of business in the same sectors. We have common sectors of activity. We export a lot of industrial machinery and also pharmaceuticals to Taiwan. These are our main exports to Taiwan. So we have also some kind of integration between our industries, because our products end up in Taiwanese product centers or vice versa. We buy products from Taiwan which end up as components of our products sometimes. So I believe you are right, we can develop it further, but there is already a good interaction. It is up to us to help it to develop further, as the potential is there, and I see quite a lot of potential actually.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, yes, please.
We still have some minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. So here I'd like to share why 10 years ago we chose Europe to do our, medical brand business. Because at that time, I remember from Apex business, even the revenue larger than today after 10 years. But I do all the business. Work with the leading brand in the worldwide. So that means I were looking for some ceiling, because, when you're doing the ODM, or we call OEM business, means you don't have your own face. Of course, Taiwan very successfully for the OEM business, but from my background, when we do the ODM, that means we need to invest money developing the product. We need to solve the patent problem, but we try to ask our good partner, the leading company, could you give us your original design medical product for us to make it? But we don't have the chance because they own a lot of patent. Almost, good product, they have more than 60% gross margin. So the manufacturing cost is not really big problem. So this is why we understand about the situation. We cannot find our good future. So then we decided maybe after 20 years experience, we know how to play, why we don't go ourselves, why we don't go to sell our own brand. But at that time, 60% of my business is in America. So if I go to American market, we guess this is the largest market in the world. In America, about 42% of the market share is owned by America. But this is like kinds of the gamble, because if I go to selling my own brand product, I will against to all of my ODM customer at one day. So this is why after our internal discussion, we think in Europe, even we call EU, but each country has different, we don't say regulatory, because all the EU can use a CE, MDD. But if you like to do the medical service, each country need to have their reimbursement system, even different rental fee to pay. So you need to divide in by each small part by part from EU. So we think this is very good, because if we divide in by different country, different market, then we can take our plan step by step. Then we can reduce our risk. So this is why 10 years ago we decided maybe the European market for us to do the own branding, to do our own service, selling to, like today we sell to more than 1,000 dealers in Spain, more than 2,000 dealers in Germany, in UK, in France, and of course I'm very happy to know Ms. Burst. You can help something, so I will keep you in touch. When I have the plan going to Denmark, I think you are, the advisor, the good, master. I like to contact. So this is about, why we choose Europe, because, if you talk about the OEM business, maybe always people looking for big order, big scale of the economy. But if you like to do the service, you like to do, the long-term business, I think Europe is a good place for us to make the try. That's my experience.
That's a very good point, an important point, because many of Taiwanese company manufacturing company, they are manufacturing for other brand. And if you don't want to, if your customer mostly are in United States or Canada, then you don't want to compete with your customers. So it's better to start your own branding in Europe. That's just a different place to start, and also because of the difference in different member country, you could start one by one, and just so that you won't, if you do something wrong, it won't collapse. You have more chance to move in steps. I guess that's a very important point. Thank you. How about Dr. Ho? You are the one who really in this sort of emerging startup stage, right? So you must appreciate a lot of what you have been working with Austria, and you want to provide more insight?
Yeah. So I think one reason why not so many Taiwanese companies invest in Europe is because, for example, IMEC is large company with global presence. However, in Europe, there are a lot of small to medium-sized enterprises with very good technologies, but they don't have the global presence needed to get exposed. And that's the reason why Taiwanese companies, actually, they don't know that such a technology is already mature and ready to use. And so I think getting them exposed to Taiwanese companies, that might help to increase the investment. So I found my partner, for example, through medical journals, and however they don't have any presence here in Taiwan. So if I don't read the medical journals, then I will never get to know that that company has this kind of technologies.
Very good story, because you know, when I listen to your presentation, it sounds pretty easy, right? It looks like very there's nothing to scare, and so you know, so I would encourage Taiwanese, even the small startup companies, you could try to look into partners in Europe. I had a lot of experience in that too, because I led a delegation to visit Europe a few times, and to be frankly, I don't like to go with the big government delegation, because government delegation always meet with governments, and you don't really generate many business opportunity. So when I led a delegation, we always go and make arrangement ahead of time with the local community, business community. So when we, for example, with the help of our agency in Belgium, when we go to Wallonia, then they would line up 20 companies, so we could work with each other and talk to each other. So there are always results, and it's actually not that far away. And so I've told some of our government agencies that you don't have to pay for us, as long as you line up the private sector to meeting with us, then we are willing to, many companies are willing to pay for their own trip to visit Europe. So the connection is very important, and it's actually very friendly and easy to work with most of Europeans. So that is a very encouraging experience for me too. All right, any questions? Any other questions from the floor? No? How about from, let's have a, okay.
Hello, actually, my name is Doris. I'm actually to promote investment in Belgium. And my question is addressed to Mr. Peter Lemons from IMEC. Because we know IMEC is a large research and development institute. You serve large companies like TSMC or UMC or Intel. But among us companies in the healthcare or biotech sector, there are many SMEs or startups. They are smaller companies that cannot compete with large enterprises like I just mentioned. Do you have specific program to help small and medium-sized companies or startups specifically in the biotech and healthcare sector? And is there a threshold to work with IMEC? Thank you.
Very good questions.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So many years ago, I think IMEC always get comment, or IMEC only work with big companies, right? And like in Taiwan, TSMC, yeah, they're having lots of money, can spend for the advanced research. But actually already since about 10 years ago, we organize ourselves so that we can also work with startups and SMEs. Yeah. For example, in Belgium, we have a department of IMEC, which is called iStart. Yeah? And I think it was last year, it has been elected as the #1 of incubation centers in Europe. Yeah? Specifically focusing on technology startups, but technology in the broader sense. It does not need to be chip technology. You can also innovate in application, in digital transformation. So how do you use the data? How do you process AI, etc. Yeah? And so we provide coaching to these companies. We help them, and that goes from writing business plan to also making connections. Yeah? Even though we are still a small company in a small country, I think we are proud about our international network. And for those startups, that's very important. Yeah? Because even also Belgian companies, they want to go to USA, they want to go to Asia and Taiwan. So how can we connect them? Yeah? So at the end, it's all about connections. Yeah? So that's one example. Second example is that we also work with startups and SMEs on a bit more mature technology. As I explained, it's not always about the latest and greatest, but it's about combining building blocks and then try to innovate. Yeah? And of course, that's more affordable, that's more smaller scale, and more tailored to medium-sized companies who can still then innovate. Yeah? And that's something we realized about 10 years ago. I think before that we always chasing Moore's law, how to reduce transistors. But I think we also try to have more and more impact on society, including also finding ways to make rapid diagnosis for COVID. Very important.
Very good. The reason I think the question is very important is that, as I mentioned earlier, in Taiwan we have about 120 publicly listed biotech companies, but I think most of them, maybe all of them, are small and medium-sized companies. There is no big pharma in Taiwan. So for a smaller company to work with European community, I think that is also a very important issue. That how can we, especially in biotech and healthcare area, that how can we accommodate smaller project, smaller companies to work with Europe. But today when I see the Prevent, I think it's a very typical small company, but quite successful throughout the collaboration. Very good example. Yeah. Okay. Any more comments, Dr. Ho? No? All right. So we are getting close to the end of the session. If there is any question from the floor, if not, then I would ask our panelists to make final, maybe short comments from each one of you. Could we start from Bert from Denmark?
Thank you very much. I think we would like to welcome you from Taiwan to come to Denmark. I think that with the support from Invest in Denmark, we have the tools to help you, and we have very unique opportunities within our healthcare system as we have this data, individual data. So we are very strong on telehealth, moving very fast forward, but also on pharma, we have big pharmaceutical companies. So please contact us for if you have questions, or we can help you get into the Danish market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From Italy, please.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity to join this panel. It was a pleasure to be with you. And yes, well, Italy is a welcoming country also for smaller companies. About 90% of our companies are small companies. Then we have also the large ones. We have some very big world players, but there's a room for everybody. Please do your research job before investing. Ask us, we're here to help. Our mission is to help with investors. If you want to ask us, okay. If you don't want to ask us, okay anyway, but please do your research job before investing. This is one of the basics for any investment. That's very important. And it has always been a pleasure to work with Taiwanese companies and partners, institutions. So please let us know if you need anything, we are here. Thank you.
Thank you. And from Dr. Ho, please.
So despite all the different languages spoken in the EU, I think EU has very clear regulations and very good research institutions, and they have representatives here in Taiwan and who are willing to help and to establish the investment in Europe.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee.
Okay. If anyone biomedical member you like to go to Europe, I think come to us because we can share good side as today. We can share some, cost we already pay, but you don't need to pay again. And then Apex, because we already have 4 subsidiaries, we have 200 people there. I believe that's a good platform for Taiwan biomedical. We can go together. Just go to Europe. Thank you.
Yes.
Maybe very quickly, a personal, intimate detail to share with you. Long ago, very long ago, when I was a child, and my parents would bring us for the annual summer holiday to Italy, then my mother was actually carrying 5 bags of coins. Belgium, Germany, Austria, Italy, etc. Because we were driving a car, you always need to pay, but it's all gone. Now we have a single currency, we have no borders anymore. And so I'm old enough to see this change, to see this evolution. So I think also the barrier to invest in Europe is getting lower and lower. So if you're old enough, you can see the progress and the advantages that you can gradually get. Thank you.
Wonderful. Very exciting. So if you ask me, I would say if we don't have pandemic, we should go right now, go Europe. But I hope next year we could actually go and visit each other, and also hope that we have more Taiwanese friends to invest in Europe as well. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Thomas. If you have any question about investment in EU, Thomas is the one in charge. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the panelists. Thank you from Denmark and Italy. Thank you very much.
请主持人与现场语坛人留步，拍一张合照，让我们留下历史性的一刻。Let's make today's session a memorable one. Moderator and all the speakers, please stand up and remain on the stage.
And from Denmark and Italy, you stay for a few more seconds so we can take a photo with you on the screen.
Please.
So we could take a photo together.
Let's get ready.